where we are today.
So like with Super Metroid, I think it's kind of funny because it's like in the prologue or whatever, she like talks about like her previous journeys, but like obviously because Prime came ahead of Super Metroid in the real world, that she just doesn't mention Prime at all. So it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna skip that. So
Listen,
I went
highlights, to okay.
The whole Prime series just wasn't worth mentioning.
I mean, it was just business as normal. I went to a new planet. I found more Metroids. I found a worse Metroid. I killed it. We're done. I'm still hunting Metroids.
Die, monster. You don't belong in this world.
Welcome to the Cable Club. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Don.
And we're the Cable Club. And today, we're uploading data from us to you on our Victory Road episode. Dan, last time, picked Metroid Prime. We're all excited about it. We're going to start doing a little bit different on our Victory Road episodes. We're going to try and do a listener pool. And with that comes, any listeners can send us suggestions about any games they'd like us to cover, and we'll put them all in a big pot, basically like a hat, and then we'll randomly draw it out. So every 3 episodes, listeners get to directly influence the games that we play.
Come on, Steve. We're going to use a picker wheel. It's more technologically advanced than that.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
we are.
Same difference. You know what I meant. But that way, we get a little bit more of a listener engagement, and we get to interact with you guys on a little bit more of a personal level. So we're all kind of excited for this.
Yeah, we don't want to be preachy.
Right.
No,
Send us those games.
I mean, we've been picking pretty good ones. Don picked Splatterhouse 3 on our first Victory Road episode.
Fun fact, it was my least favorite game we've played on this podcast so far.
That's surprising.
And the second one we did, I picked Banjo-Kazooie, one of my favorite games of all time. And this one is Dan's pick for Metroid Prime, which we'll get into. I think before we go any further than that, though, I think we're going to pass it off to Don for Question of the Week.
Well, so before we get into Metroid Prime, we're going to talk about question. We usually do a couple things around here. We do a question of the week and we do news. If you're here listening to this and you clicked on this video or this episode just for its title or its thumbnail alone, and you want to skip right to geeking out about Metroid Prime, go ahead and use the timestamp that's in the YouTube description if that's what you're watching, or use that little slidey thingy on the bottom of whatever podcast software you're using, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us everywhere. And kind of go to the 25 to 30 minute mark. That's usually where we kind of wrap up this portion of the episode. All right. Question of the week. Fellas, I'm going to start with a little show and tell first. Show and tell for our audio listeners.
Well, let's see.
So I added a couple of games to the collection this week. So the first is Donkey Kong Country 3. Right?
Nice.
And the
only
second
one I haven't
is
beaten.
Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Right?
Have you played that before?
Yes. Yep. I haven't really played through it, though. Very, very little. I plan on playing it, though.
It's great.
Yeah, they're both good games.
Let me ask you, fellas, other than being Super Nintendo games and platformers, what do these two games have in common?
Well, they are extremely late. They're extremely late in their system's life cycle.
Very astute, Steve.
Nice.
And I think there's a trend. If you go back and you play retro games, especially on multiple different consoles, I think you'll find that a lot of the times the games that are developed late for a console, particularly those that are out when the next gen is out, some of them are even more refined than their counterparts on the later system. And I think these two games really represent that. So my
Yeah.
question of the week to you fellas is, of all the late stage titles out there for whatever system you want, it doesn't matter, it can be modern too. What are some of your favorite late stage games?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think for me, I'm gonna go with PS1, and the game I loved as a kid. I think it came out when I was like 12. It came out in I want to say either 1999 or 2000, so it's pretty late. It's Mega Man Legends 2. To this day, like I still love that game.
I have not played it.
I mean, I know people like they really like the first one better, but I don't know. For me, it's really close. The graphics are better. The control scheme is so much better. It's like leagues better than the first one because they actually enabled the analog sticks, which
Yeah.
is kind of rare back in the day. That didn't start happening, I don't think, until what, PS2, really?
Yeah, that's
And
been
that's
my
and that's
biggest
one of
hurdle with
those.
that game.
Yeah, that's one of those things that does happen with where as the system goes on, they get better at like the practical things like controls. Really improves the games.
Yeah.
And what like really surprises me is they were really ahead of the game because you can actually set the right analog stick to camera control, which is you don't really see that now like in older games. Like even on like PS2 GameCube era, like actually Metroid Prime's a prime example of that. Is they don't have an analog stick to move the camera. So I mean it was actually
banned,
really
man.
ahead of its time.
Yeah, no more of that.
There's one in every crowd, man. One in every crowd.
But yeah, if you guys never played not Metroid, Mega Man Legends 2, it's a good game to play. I highly recommend it.
They both start with M. They shoot things,
Yeah. Mega Man's better.
But one would certainly take the other. Samus would take Mega Man every day of the week, especially Volnut
well,
Mega Man.
I will give you that. If you're talking about like the Legends Mega Man, yeah, absolutely. Samus is gonna wipe the floor with Mega Man Volnut.
Before we get into any of that, so there's some stuff that I want to talk about Samus in general, but I think we should wait on it. So,
Yeah,
did you have any other games, Dan? Late games on
No,
consoles or handhelds even?
oh, geez, I didn't even think about the handhelds.
Yeah, handhelds.
Yeah,
geez,
I got a list.
We
of
have one
games.
member of our community that I know is going to yell at us for not even considering the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
I'll
maybe
pick it up then.
Yeah. What do you got for the handheld, Steve?
So the Game Boy Advance had an incredible library, and
It does.
some of its latest games. I'm just going to go down a list because all of these are incredible.
Might just be
games.
like one of the greatest consoles of all time. Just before you
I
even
just
get to
thought
the
of a
game,
good-
like
I
it's
thought of a
really
good
really
game.
good.
The only games that I'm going to say here that are remakes are the last three on this list. But Fire Emblem, The Sacred Stones, late development title in the system.
Really,
Kingdom-
when did that one come out?
Like 2004 or 5. It's late. Like
Holy cow! Wow.
yeah.
What is
we
this
were,
for? Game
we
Boy
were in high
Advance?
school when that game came out, dude.
Yeah, but it puts it in like the PlayStation 2, GameCube era, like late
Yeah.
in that era. That's
Yep.
that's crazy.
These games I think are all 2005 or older. I mean
wow.
2005 or newer. So they're not available for our podcast yet. Fire
That's
Emblem:
crazy,
The Sacred
huh?
Stones, Kingdom Hearts: Chain of Memories, The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, Mega Man 03, Mega Man Battle Network 6, and Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6 Advanced, which had a bunch of like extra content added in. So
Nice,
It's
nice.
a creamy lineup right there.
dude,
What there's one game that actually came to mind. I don't know the year off the top of my head, but is it Aria of Sorrow? That has to be late.
It
I'm
is.
pretty
It
sure.
is late. I think it's
'Cause-
the latest of the Castlevania titles.
Yeah,
on the
because they
GBA.
had 3, and that was the latest on the Game Boy Advance. So I'd imagine it was late. I don't.
2003.
Eh,
Eh.
eh, it's not that late. When did the DS
No.
come out? 06?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
No. I'm sorry. I think we were. I think it was like 2004 or 5. We were in high school, but I don't remember. I think it might have been freshman year.
Yeah.
So, um, I'll let you do some because I have some more that I'd like to say. But go
I
ahead,
mean,
Don.
my pick is definitely Legend of Dragoon for the
Really?
PlayStation 1.
That's
I
2000, isn't it?
I think it's 99.
I can't believe I didn't even pick
No,
Legend of
it might
Dragoon.
be, might
I
be,
think it's
might be
2000.
01.
I think it's
I don't know.
2000.
I'm actually wicked embarrassed, and there's another member of our community that's yelling into their device right now. But Legend of Dragoon, especially because that game kind of got it from both ends in terms of being overshadowed. One, it was overshadowed by the newer system, but two, it was kind of overshadowed. Yeah, 1999.
Is it? Okay.
It was kind of overshadowed by the previous generation as well, because the
Yeah, you got all the
SNES
Final
was like,
Fantasy games.
yeah, the
I think 9
the
came out in
SNES was such a
2000.
JRPG powerhouse, right? And then the PlayStation 1 is also a JRPG powerhouse. Like, I didn't play a lot of the JRPGs when I was a kid, but looking back at the library now, there's just a ton, right? So
Yeah.
by this time, 1999, it's a tired formula. But honestly, and a lot of critics called it like the same as Final Fantasy VII, like as part of their reviews, which there's a big difference in the whole story, the whole
Yeah.
feel, the gameplay,
Yeah.
like all of it's
Somebody
different.
got paid to write that.
A lot of people got paid to write it, apparently.
You know what? I'm surprised that no one's redid ever since Legend of Dragoon is the addition system, which I actually thought was pretty interactive for a turn-based game. And it rewarded you for good gameplay because obviously if you hit the combos correctly, you did way more damage. And as a kid, I loved it. I'm so just surprised I haven't really seen a turn-based RPG like kind of copy it.
Well,
So
in
if you
Final
go back and
Fantasy
you
VIII,
play
you
it
can
now,
trigger your attacks on set squad.
yeah, I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think and there's tons of calls out there for a Legend of Dragoon remake. And I'm just going to throw this out to the airwaves now. Maybe somebody important is listening. I think if they do a Legend of Dragoon remake, they could turn those additions into like, action commands, like button combinations during a real time fighting scenario.
It's like
like
JRPG
an action
fighter.
RPG.
Yeah,
Well,
possibly.
no, think like Final Fantasy VII remake when you're playing as Tifa. Like a lot of what you're doing are almost like fighting game inputs,
Yeah,
and you
that's
can do
why I said that.
combos, right? Yeah, so you could do it like that with different
Maybe.
characters. It'd be really interesting.
I might
It's-
sound like a boomer, but like I honestly would be happy if they just had like, up to date graphics, smoothed out the addition system, but like basically keep the game the same, but just like have, just a better quality game and maybe add, extra content to it. But maybe I'm in the minority, but I would pay money for that day one.
Well, you got
Yeah.
ROMs for that, boomer. All right.
Don, I'm gonna have to. I am very surprised about the game that I'm gonna pick that you did not pick.
Hold on. I have another one for you.
Okay, all right.
It's a bit of a hidden gem. It's called Drill Dozer for the Game Boy Advance. If you've never heard of this game, it's like an anime-esque side scroller where you're a little girl that drives a big drill mecha, and it's like a platformer / there's some Metroidvania elements, and there's and it's a really it's actually developed by the same team who developed Mario and Luigi's Superstar Saga.
Oh,
So
that's
if you
a good
played
game.
that, that's a darn good game. And
I
this
think
game
it might be
also
my
is
favorite
very
of all
very
the
interesting.
Mario and Luigi games. The first one.
And like the whole premise is you go through different levels and you build up your mech and you fight bosses. I'd say it's almost like Kirby and Metroid together. Like, and it's just, I don't know, really interesting gimmicky gameplay, but fun all the way through.
I'm
So
pretty
I
sure
would
it's
check
on
out
the list.
Drill Dozer. Hopefully
I'm
we'll
gonna have
get
to
it one
look
of these
that one
days.
up.
That one came out in 2005 for the Game Boy Advance. That's pretty late.
Oh, yeah, that's late. So some honorable mentions on my side. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was the final game made on the N64.
It's
What ye-
weak. It's so weak. The
What year
second
was that?
Uh, I think it was like 2001 or something. Like it
Oh
was
my
just
god,
late.
yeah. Yeah.
second Tony Hawk is the best one by far. It's
I
not
like
even
that
close.
one.
But the
You can
game
play as
that
like Spider-Man.
oh,
Like there's like a Superman mod. You can build your own character, up their stats, and like there's all like it's just so good. I really love it.
yeah,
I love the
I
And
Tony
that
Hawk
soundtrack,
Underground
yeah,
series. You guys
it's
remember
good.
that series, the Tony Hawk
yeah, that one
Underground?
was cool.
I love that one.
You know, after Tony Hawk 3 kind of like really ruined it in my mind, I stopped playing Tony Hawk games after that. But I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 like it was religion.
Nice.
But the game that I was
7-digit
going to go with,
combos.
if I could pick one, it's got to be on the N64. Paper Mario.
Oh,
It
It is
came
a
out
really
in
good one.
2000, dude.
favorite game of all time, Paper Mario.
Yeah, that's why I'm
I'm
surprised,
surprised you
you
didn't pick that one, Don.
Yeah,
Maybe it was overlooked. It's okay.
There's just so many good games that came out. You know,
so
and-
many.
Yeah.
Yeah, FF9 I think was 2000. Like very
yeah,
late.
yep.
Very late.
FF9's late too. All right, so let's put this question to bed and let's transition to some gaming news.
All right. So here on this podcast, we like to give you guys a little bit of gaming news. I don't know if you guys heard this game, but Pal World has
I'm
been
sure I
taking the
have.
world by storm. So Steam has had like concurrent players like in the 2 millions daily.
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
and that is like the third most ever on a Steam game of
Yeah.
having that many concurrents. And honestly, it is probably the first most given how old the game is. Like, you know, if you consider that ratio, probably I don't know, but that's huge, huge
Yeah.
numbers.
So, what is Pal World? It's basically monster catching, survival game, crafting game, mixed into one. It was created by Pocket Pair. Some people refer to it as like Pokemon with guns because your character can like craft guns and stuff, and you can go around like shooting like these monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like similar to like if you guys played like Valheim and like 7 Days to Die or Rust, it's very similar to those games.
I read somewhere that it's like Ark, Monster Hunter, and there was another one, Fortnite. It's like those three games, but with monsters in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, it's the monsters themselves. I guess like Nintendo's getting a little bit haughty about, perhaps even telegraphing some
Yeah.
lawsuits.
That's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to get you guys' opinion on that. Is a lot of people think that they're copying Pokemon. So I mean, they say like some of them are like AI generated. Nintendo actually gave a statement, and I actually have it right here. And so like basically what Nintendo said is we have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. So it sounds like, they're looking into it, but they're not like taking any actions yet. I don't know if they can.
Well, so I went and looked at the monsters, and I'm not a lawyer, but you know, I think in a world where people can get away with spoofing other people's songs on YouTube and not like, you know, getting pursued for it, altering the songs just enough to not get like screwed over in copyright. Again,
Right.
not a lawyer. If you're at this podcast for legal advice, I'm so sorry for what's going to happen to you in the near future. the monsters don't really look
some of them kind of do.
yeah, kind of, but like there are some mobile games out there that advertise, and you like literally see like one for one shots. Like, here's our monster capture game, and then you'll like they'll like whiz by a couple of designs that are very Pokemon inspired, but then there's like one that's just like straight up a Pokemon. They'll just like throw Dragonite past you, and you're like, yeah, I don't know how you like. Good luck, with
Yeah.
that. But like, I don't think that's kind of what this is, and I watched like 2 hours worth of gameplay before this. I haven't played it myself.
Yeah, me neither.
It's a big time sink. It looks like. It's
I mean,
not my style
it does
game.
look fun.
It does. I think where they're gonna have a hard time is like you capture the pals in pal spheres, like.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like a direct ripoff. I feel like, but
and your character crafts them and throws them. They throw them to capture them in pal spheres after weakening them. Now they weaken them by punching them in the face or hitting them with a weapon or shooting them with a gun. Like they're not like using creatures to battle. You can use creatures to assist you, but the battle system's different. It's not like turn based like Pokemon Legends Arceus was. I think Legends Arceus probably comes the closest to what we're dealing with here. But yeah, it and like you said, Dan, and Steve can talk about this more, but it's a lot like Valheim, where like you start with nothing, you got to cut down trees, you got to build like a workbench in a town, and you got to get it going. It's just
and then you enslave your pals to build things for you, and you have sweatshops to make guns, and you can torture them, and you can do whatever you want to your pals.
So you can also feed them or kill them for food.
Yeah, you can eat them and feed them each other.
I think you can actually catch like humanoids in there too. Like I've seen people throw
humans. Actual people you can capture.
They can be your pals.
It kind of makes sense to me that a Pokeball would be able to capture a human too. They just don't.
No, Pokemon are from outer space and people aren't.
Yeah, but the apricorn isn't. At least as far as we know.
Yeah.
It's a lot more mature. It has a lot more mature themes than Pokemon. Like it's not. I would say it's not even really for kids. So.
No, it's definitely kids. No. Are you joking?
I would not let my children play it.
Well, sure, but it doesn't mean they don't want to, and it's not marketed
shooting
to them.
cute animals and whatnot. Come on.
Okay, let me rephrase.
You have
what
like
I said.
Electivire with a minigun. Are you telling me that that's not like high school today? Like,
no, what I should have said is I don't personally think that it's child appropriate.
Sure, we're not asking your opinion.
I mean, some aspects of it definitely, but I could see other aspects of the game was definitely child friendly.
Yeah, it's it's silly, it's fun. I don't think Nintendo's probably going to actually pursue legal action against them.
I don't really think they can, to be honest. Like in my opinion, it's like the gaming world's like based off of like inspiration off other games, so it's like that's kind of how games got to like where they are today. They just build inspiration off each other. I don't think anyone really has like the original idea of anything nowadays. It's already been done.
I mean, there are definitely still ripoffs. I don't want to take away from that argument because that is still a thing. But I don't quite see it here. The game is so much different from the Pokemon franchise, like actually how it plays.
Right. There's so many like different aspects of the game that like Pokemon just doesn't even have. So it's
also like you don't have that like your pals can only have 4 moves and it's turn-based battles and like it's not like that. So
I mean, not every Pokemon game has turn-based battles. Some are a little bit different, but
but you know what I mean.
Do you guys remember Skylanders?
Yeah,
it sounds familiar.
I think it's kind of like a creature game, right? Where like you have your creature in real life, you'd have like a figurine, right? And then you plug it into the system and you can play as your figurine.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but isn't it like that Diablo style isometric?
Yeah. Where I'm going with this is a lot of the creatures I feel like in Pal World kind of resemble that art style. In my opinion, more so than they do Pokemon's art style. If you really wanted to put like an artistic font on it, like Digimon has their own kind of like artistic font, right? And Pokemon has their own like different look.
I think I disagree with that. Watching some stuff that I watched anyway, it looks very close to like Scarlet and Violet. Like it looks close to that art
Yeah,
style.
I mean, we're getting
Yeah,
a
it does.
little bit subjective here, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I went through the list and I personally don't see it. But
Which
except
is
for like
fair.
some really big standouts, but it's few and far between, I think.
Yeah, at the
But
very
yeah.
worst, they'll have to get rid of what, like 10 pals.
Yeah.
And maybe turn the capture spheres into like Ghostbuster traps or something.
Then Ghostbusters will be after them. No.
Yeah, because they're coming out with a new movie,
I like
which
Ghostbusters.
hopefully doesn't spawn a crappy game. But yeah,
That's fine if they do. They'll have to wait 20 years to play it.
Yeah. Didn't Luigi's Mansion kind of do like a Ghostbusters ripoff a little bit?
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
That's the Poltergeist 2000.
It sucks instead of blows. That's the difference.
There's no lightning.
All right. So speaking of questionable games, have you guys looked at anything about Rocksteady's latest release, The Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League? It's coming out on.
I looked at
I
it a
think it
little
came out
bit.
today, actually.
I looked
Yeah.
at it a little bit. I heard early access with a lot of people had a negative reaction to it.
I know it's a comic book. Let me just start there, right? So you gotta suspend some disbelief already. But I've watched a few of the cutscenes and things, and you really, really, really have to just ignore the fact that the Flash could just kill them all, like, before they could even blink, because he just doesn't. It's
Right,
just a silly plot. Like these people would get destroyed.
So what's the premises of it? Is it basically they like some force took over the Justice League and then the Suicide Squad goes and like kills them all? Is that
So
the idea of it?
the Suicide Squad is like the government, like the shadow government's arm of superhuman countermeasures, right? So they use a bunch of, particularly Batman's rogues gallery, but I think any villains from across the DC universe they can get their hands on to counteract superhuman problems, right? And it's run by Amanda Waller, who's a government agent. And she puts bombs in everybody's heads to keep them compliant. And you're dealing
Oh
with some
boy,
of the worst
jeez.
people, like Deadshot, and I don't know. I'm not a big comic book guy, but obviously Harley Quinn's kind of a loose cannon, right? You'd have to do something to keep her on a leash.
Yeah.
And in this story, I guess Brainiac comes to Earth and takes over the Justice League, right? And they have to kill those members of the Justice League. So maybe they could get Batman if we're taking his plot armor off, but
Yeah.
for real, maybe they could get Superman because maybe they got some kryptonite. Like I guess I could see that, but like the Flash and the Green Lantern, I really, really don't get how like King Shark and like Captain Boomerang and like Harley Quinn could not die to these people who are trying to kill them, mind you.
I don't know. Maybe like when they're mind controlled, they're just not as powerful. Who knows?
I think that's the argument for Batman for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's Brainiac controlling him, then it's probably still pretty good. I mean, Batman's fake physical, like human, and I don't know.
Yeah, but if he doesn't, yeah, I don't know. Really, really hard to get into. And I guess this is part of the Arkhamverse, which I think might be a little bit of a disappointing end to the Arkhamverse because
Yeah, the other ones were really good.
Yeah, I think the Arkham games are insanely good, and I think, and the unfortunate thing is, this is the first time you're seeing a lot of these Justice League characters in the quote unquote Arkhamverse, and they're being put in this game as fodder. So
yeah, I could see how that could leave a sour taste in people's mouths.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see how it pans out.
Yeah, so. I mean, I guess if the gameplay is good, I mean, it's kind of just play for what it is.
With the reviews of people, I doubt it.
Comic book fans are a testy group.
Well, everybody likes Arkham games. I mean,
yeah,
not everybody, but a lot of people did.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to talk about some 3D Metroid action? Ready to get into the game?
Absolutely.
First, we'll start off with what is a Victory Road episode. So, as mentioned at the top of the show, this is Victory Road, and it's more of an informal episode than our other two formats. And we want to just essentially have an informal retrospective on a hand-picked game. So, the idea going forward is we've all picked a game for one of these episodes because we only have 9 or so episodes out. And what we want going forward is you, the listener, to pick the game. So you pick it, we talk about it. So every 3 episodes, we'll run a listener pool. We're running one right now. We have some games in our entry, and you can submit your games either here in the YouTube comments or send us an email message at thecableclubpodcast@gmail.com. And don't worry, if you think your game is a duplicate, that's fine. It'll just get 2 chances on our random chance wheel instead of 1. And if your game doesn't get picked for a retrospective, you can either submit it again for the following pool, or it's also going to get added to our retro decks if it's not on there. So it might get randomly pulled for another episode. Yeah. So it's never over.
Yep, the more the merrier.
Definitely. Send us good ones. Some stinkers maybe, but we like good games. You send us whatever you want.
Yeah, we'll play.
Send us
anyway.
Whatever you want, but preferably a good game from
please
from 20 years back or more. That's the criteria. All right, Dan, tell us about Metroid Prime. Get us started.
Alrighty. So, Metroid Prime. So it's a sci-fi Metroidvania game with a 3D environment / first-person shooter, or first-person adventure, as Nintendo likes to call it, because it has like exploration and whatnot. It's also the first time in the series that they went this route and style. Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion was the first game in 8 years since Super Metroid. Both these games came out at the same time. Do you guys believe that? Like these both games came out on the same day.
Well, it's worth noting that so Nintendo outsourced because they couldn't even like imagine what a 3D Metroid game would be. Like the people that did Super Metroid. And so Nintendo looked outside of its normal area and they picked a small like development studio out of Texas.
Is that Retro Studios?
Studios.
Yeah.
And they made the Turok games, I'm pretty sure. And so they had some experience in the 3D, like, you know, the shooter genre. And it launched them like into a really, really big like contractual agreement with Nintendo to obviously make more sequels and everything because Nintendo liked what Retro did for Metroid, because originally they couldn't even fathom it, but Retro, you know, really did a good job.
No, they did. Yeah, because Prime would go to be a commercial success, selling over 1 million copies in just North America alone.
Its Metascore critic rating is like 97 out of 100.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, they did a fantastic job.
Other interesting fact, if we want to talk about timeline too, because we love the Metroid messed up timeline.
Yeah, I want to say something
more
about
and
that.
more clear. Yeah. So, the Metroid timeline, if you were to play them in chronological order of what we believe to be Samus's journey, right? You'd start with the original Metroid. That is the first one.
Yeah.
But actually, Metroid Prime would be the second entry.
Yeah, it comes right after that. So it's a 14-year gap in development. But that's, you know, in chronological order is the Prime is the second game.
Yep, and
all
you know
of the Prime games.
Yeah, all of them. That whole Prime series, right?
Yep.
And then after that would be Other M. And then after that would be Metroid 2, because that's when Samus eliminates all of the Metroids, or so she thinks. That's when she finds the baby.
Baby.
I think it's kind of funny that. Go ahead, Don.
Super Metroid. Yeah, are you done? Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and then finally, Metroid Dread.
Yeah,
where we are today.
So, like with Super Metroid, I think it's kind of funny because it's like, you know, in the prologue or whatever, she like talks about like, you know, her previous journeys, but like obviously because Prime came ahead of Super Metroid in the real world, that she just doesn't mention Prime at all. So it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna skip that. So
Listen,
yeah,
the
I went to
highlights, okay?
you know, the whole Prime series just wasn't worth mentioning.
I mean, you know, it was just business as normal. I went to a new planet. I found more Metroids. I found a worse Metroid. I killed it. We're done. I'm still hunting Metroids.
I actually want to share a thought that I had literally last night when I was listening to some Metroid Prime music. And this is the first time that I've ever thought of this, and I think you guys would get a good laugh out of it. So think about video game music. Okay? There isn't anybody playing the music, right? So I'm in here thinking, you know, in Metroid, Samus is running around in her suit, destroying everything, incinerating the planet, and in the middle of it, she's going like in her suit, dun, 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 she's blowing everything up. Like,
well, she's
like
got a high-tech
she's
suit.
singing the music.
She's in a high-tech suit. She's got the
The
MP3
suit
playing.
has speakers, obviously.
She's just enjoying it so much.
And as said on last episode, Dracula's minions all rock out to the Castlevania soundtrack while waiting for Simon.
And in Meridia, in like Super Metroid, just as an example, the music, it's like all creepy, and it's like she's.
I hate that whole place. Everything about it.
She's, you know, kind of a little bit freaked out, so she's nervously singing the Meridia.
Stuttering while doing it.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
She's running to escape. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
I thought of that last night, and I thought you guys were gonna kick out of it.
So this
Do you
game,
have more on the story.
yeah. So this game actually doesn't start in Zebes. It actually starts on Talon 4. But before you actually go on Talon 4, Samus gets a distress signal, and she's on like a space pirate colony for the beginning of the game. And I think it sets the tone really well, because like when you're going through that place, everything, like all the space pirates are like injured and like on the verge of dying. So it makes you like wonder like what the heck happened here.
Well, not only just that, but in the tutorial in this game, it's like it's hard to top Super Metroid's, you know, initial like tutorial. But I think Prime does.
You actually can learn a lot with the scan
they teach
feature.
you how to aim, like
I'm gonna contest that.
Target. I don't know, man. You get a little bit of taste of what's to come. In Super Metroid, you don't really get that.
You know what? You know what you get a taste for? They teach you how to use the stupid grapple, and by the time you get the grapple, you don't remember how to use the grapple.
There's like one spot you use the grapple in the
So
tutorial.
ridiculous.
Yeah, you do get the
That
grapple pretty late.
Like, I can't tell you the anxiety that I had all these past 2 weeks playing this game. Because, like, Super Metroid will, like, show you something you can't get to, and you're like, all right, I'll come back there. And you can, like, make a mental note of it, right? Or, like, 1 or 2 or 3 things, right? And then it even brings you back around. You don't have to go out of your way. You can kind of get back there with your new powers. Metroid Prime just shows you like thing after thing after thing after thing after thing that you can't access for God knows how long. God knows how long I spent staring at grapple hooks.
Yeah.
Like without a grapple. There's so many of them everywhere.
You know what a funny part is like a lot of them's not even like by the time you get all the power-ups, you don't like use like 70% of them. Cuz
You're like that blonde kid in that meme who's going like looking around going
it's all over the place. And the white doors, oh my God, there's like one point in the game where like every door is white. And you're like, where's the ice beam? Like I've already seen like five white doors. I'm just trying to remember where they are. Why are you showing me so many white doors? Stop.
And you get into like you get into the snow level and you're like, finally, I'm in a snow area. It's gotta be here. Nope.
Surely the ice beam is here. No. No.
Nope.
How about no, Scott?
And like, I'm gonna get my bad out of the way before we get to the good, right? So the hint system is like you have the option to turn it off. If you want the Metroid experience of wandering around aimlessly, you can have it. You just go right into the menu and turn it off. Fine. Why do they just like delay the next objective until you've run around for 15 to 20 minutes before telling you where to go?
I agree with that.
Do you want to hear what's even worse than that?
Like,
you want to know what's worse than that?
What's that?
If you, when you get to near the end of the game, there is a boss fight. I don't want to spoil the boss, but there's a boss fight right before.
Spoil it away.
Aren't you like right there at the end? I'm not spoiling it.
No.
Did you finish it?
No. I'm going to finish it. It's going on my amnesty list of games I've played for the podcast. I haven't finished it. It is going to get finished, but it's just, I didn't have time to finish it over these last 2 weeks.
All you need to know is that there is a boss fight right before the final area of the game, and at this point you're supposed to collect these 12 Chozo artifacts throughout the world. If you don't go to it's like the perfect time to start exploring because now you have everything. But if you don't go there right away, every 15 minutes it's gonna pop up that screen in front of you and say, "Hey, you need to collect the 12 Chozo artifacts." And if you don't have the artifacts yet, it's still gonna say, "Collect the artifacts and bring them to this spot."
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm doing it. I'm doing it, bro.
I'm going. Stop.
It's pretty annoying.
Yeah,
you're searching for him and just pops up on you. You're like,
I think that would have been a nice quality of life change. Just having it pop up immediately.
So wait, we all played 3 different versions, right? Steve, you played the GameCube one, and like Steve didn't even have his max missiles.
Oh, like
on
the HUD, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, well, I don't know how many missiles I have because I'm not full up on. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like right next to it. I played the Wii version this week, which I highly recommend. I loved aiming with the Wiimote the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, you have 70 out of 75 missiles, and I'm like, what is Steve's problem? It's right here on the screen. Can you not read?
Is he blind?
Yeah.
Are the graphics enhanced in the Wii version?
Yes.
I think so.
Are they? Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah,
probably not.
I played the
as much as
remaster, and that game looks absolutely beautiful.
Oh man, I watched a speed run. At least part of a speed run of the remastered. It looks so good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so, what are some of the quality of life improvements that they put in the remaster?
Well, like the biggest one for me, and this might not be for everybody, but they, fix the controls where it's like you can actually use like the right analog stick to like move your cannon around, which So I'm actually playing Metroid 2 or Metroid Prime 2 now because now I'm like on this like Metroid Prime fix, and I'm playing the GameCube version of it, and I'm just like had to readjust myself to like not having that because it's like Samus moves around like as the smooth as butter when you can just use 2 analog sticks to maneuver around.
Yeah. So in the GameCube version, your little D-pad selects your visor, and your C-stick selects your weapon.
Right.
So like you don't get to aim that way. You have to aim in the original on GameCube. You have to hold R to go into the standing mode, and then move the walking stick around to aim.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a scope mode.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. Right.
It's very slow and it's pretty clunky.
So wait, how do you turn?
You don't. You have to let go of R, and the only way to target things while turning is to hit L to auto lock on.
So how do you strafe?
You have to lock on, right?
You have to lock on, and then you tap B in a direction, or hold a direction and hit B twice, and you'll jump.
Yeah, it's kind of dated. It's kind of dated.
So with the Wii, right, you have your nunchuck stick, and that is how you move forward, back, left, right. And then if you turn the Wiimote to the side, Samus looks to the side, and then you can just, point at things and shoot, right? So actually it's really, really fluid. I guess it's kind of like having a second analog stick, except I think you can aim a lot faster.
Right.
And it still has a lock on, which I didn't know.
It might have sensitivity.
Well, I mean,
on the remaster.
Yeah, maybe.
So there's like a small change in the remaster, which I actually think was a downgrade. So obviously when you maybe the Wii has this, I'm not sure, I've never played the Wii one, but so when you like shoot your weapon, and obviously you'll start a charge, right? For some reason in the remaster, she does like burst shots and then does a charge shot, which is so off-putting to me. I just did not like that. So like basically like when you do your power beam shot, she'll do 3 shots before she actually starts charging it.
That's it, guys. The Wii is S tier on this one.
I mean, maybe that wouldn't bother some people, but like, you know, if I want to do like back-to-back like charges, I want to be able to. I scoured the menus to see if I could turn off like this like burst shot mode, but no,
Who does regular shots anyway?
it just is so weird.
Well, okay, so there's the space pirate that takes 2 charge shots and then 1 regular shot of plasma to kill.
Oh, right, but I mean, who sits there like spamming the regular shot instead of
Oh yeah, no,
charging?
I don't do that.
A, B, C, okay? Always be charging.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
for the most part,
yeah.
that's what I want to do, and it's just like the game doesn't let you. It's like you shoot 3 times before you start charging. I'm like, what is this? So I mean, go ahead.
Yeah,
Steve.
I want to play the remaster, but I don't have time right now.
Yeah.
And I've beaten it on the Wii and the GameCube. And I like the Wii version more than the GameCube version.
Yeah, I would say like, you know, if you're ever in the itch to play a Prime game again, you know, obviously pick up the remaster.
I am gonna be honest. I know this it only kind of pertains, but Metroid Prime 2 Echoes is probably the better of the 2 games.
No, dude, you are so wrong on that one.
I don't.
You are
Dan's playing through
so
Echoes
wrong
now.
on that one.
Shots fired.
I'm playing the second one now, and there's no way in hell that game's better than the first one.
So far, Steve has a habit of stepping out of line on this podcast. Just want to say,
I don't care.
I hate
I
the
like
whole
both a
like
lot, but...
I hate having to constantly switch between like light world and dark world. It's so annoying. And you have that stupid like animation of like, you know, going to the other world every single time. And it's just
Well, okay, so I played it like, I don't know, 12 years ago. So it's been a while, and there may be things that I would not appreciate as much now. But when I played it, like, it just felt really good.
You know, to each their own, and be it's like for me, the first game is like a masterpiece, and I don't even if I do play Corruption, which I think I'm going to, I don't even think that's gonna, you know, because I've heard it's not as good anyways, but like we'll see.
Do you own Corruption, Dan?
I don't, so I'm gonna have to figure a way how to get it.
Come on, Dan, come over here and couch co-op that.
Couch co-op.
Yeah, so. Metroid Prime, like Dan said, it starts in the space pirate colony, or it's the frigate Orpheon.
Yeah.
And it's a spaceship that is run by the space pirates. And Samus goes in and she destroys some stuff. She learns that they're testing on parasites, and you know they're genetically modifying things, and you know some things have gone awry, and she ends up going in and, you know, kicking butt and destroying it, and it crash lands on Talon 4, like Dan said. And throughout the game, you end up, like, learning about what's going on Talon 4. You find that the Chozo a part of the Chozo race lived there in Harmony, and all of a sudden, like, 50 years ago or something like that, this great poison starts attacking the planet. It used to be this lush, like, paradise planet. Everything was perfect. And all of a sudden, everything starts changing for the Chozo, and they couldn't figure out how to fix it, and they end up going extinct on the planet. You find out, and it all leads back to this very strange energy called Phazon.
Yep.
And it
the game
is
like very lore heavy for a Metroid
title.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's incredible.
You can learn so much if you just scan.
Yeah,
scan all the stuff, and it teaches you everything through that without having cutscenes. Really, I mean, they have a couple small ones, but
one quality of life improvement on the Wii was that it doesn't tell you the story as soon as you scan it. You have to scan it a second time if you want to read it that way. So it's kind of nice if you want to skip it. Like if you're just in a hurry, you can scan it and either go and read it later, or if you scan it a second time, it'll run you through the dialogue.
Like a more descriptive version. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Well, so if you scan it the first time, it just says, you know, logged in data book.
Oh,
right?
okay. So you got to
And
go in
you
there
could
and read
just
it.
yeah
Oh,
so you
in
could
the
just
Wii?
keep going, yeah. But if you want to read it right now and you're in front of it, you don't have to go to the logbook. You can just scan it again, and it'll read it to you, basically.
Yeah, in the GameCube version, it just shows you all the text, and you can go back and look at it in the logbook if you
Yeah,
want.
I
But
think the remaster does the same thing as the GameCube.
Oh man.
I don't remember ever like having to scan things twice for like
well,
a
I mean,
more.
all you have to do is let go of the L button, and it closes it out. So it's the
Yeah.
same. But yeah. So Samus arrives on the planet and finds out that the Chozo are gone now, and
And so are her
learns
power
about.
ups.
Yeah, well, that's a Metroid trope. She's all
I mean,
powerful till she gets
she
knocked
gets
into a wall.
damaged, and there's a malfunction, I guess.
Yeah.
You find out that the Phazon that the space pirates are doing all kinds of tests with Phazon, and it it becomes like incredibly apparent that this stuff is crazy. Like big meteor came before Samus arrived and brought Phazon, and you learn throughout the whole story that Phazon is attacking planets and giving Phazon like it turns things sentient, and it's like
Yeah.
it's a big part of the story,
They
and
got
it's
they got so obsessed with it, like obviously they were experimenting on animals and whatnot, but then they actually started doing it to their own kind.
yep.
Like,
Oh yeah. They started to like make the super pirates,
yeah,
but they did it to contain the Metroids. Like they were breeding Metroids still on that planet, and then they had certain areas where they couldn't go into anymore because the Metroids escaped and got restless. So they were phasoning out some of those like alpha pirates, and if you read some of the pirate log stuff, they're talking about basically sending those guys in there to try to subdue the Metroids. That's like their best answer for it.
Oh, well, they just need an ice beam.
yeah,
Well, so they actually talk about that too. The Metroids they bred were specifically ice resistant,
None of
and
the ones I found.
well, the ones you kill in the lab are larvae.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're not fully grown. So
Oh, the fully grown ones, they're menace.
the
Speaking of like
baby.
the Metroids, I find like the ones that like split into two, and then you need like the
God,
beams.
so annoying.
So annoying, dude. I hate those ones.
You know how to quickly dispatch them?
Power bomb.
Power bombs.
Yeah.
They're obnoxious.
Yeah.
Powerbomb makes it less believable that Samus's suit would sustain damage from impact. Just saying.
So like I want to kind of go back on like the pirate lore that Don was talking about. So if you read some of them, they obviously have this, hatred towards Samus because Samus is always like, stopping their plans and whatnot. And it gets to a point where
The one time so far in our chronological timeline.
the one time, yeah.
The one time.
But anyways, they will actually, because Samus has been kicking their butt, so that they go and turn around. It's like, how can we mimic Samus's arsenal? Because it's like we can't beat Samus, so why don't we just join her? So they end up like making like different types of space pirates with like her wave beam or power beam, and they can only be like attacked by that beam. Otherwise, they're invulnerable.
Yeah, I call them grape flavor, cherry flavor, and glacial rush.
Yeah. But it's
I'm actually not a big fan of it.
a fan of
Oh,
what?
whatever.
Having enemies like
Oh,
so plentifully that are only weak to one type of weapon.
If I'm being honest, I'm not a fan of any of the other weapons anyway. Like I think they're all just whatever. They're all very similar to one another. And I think having a reason to use them is fine. It's okay.
yeah, that's fair enough.
I feel like they are all very different.
Are you serious?
Well, the ice shot's a lot slower.
Yeah.
Reminds me of
And
like
the
a
charge
shotgun.
anyway.
It's like a shotgun, basically, is the ice beam.
Yeah, but it doesn't do like
Yeah.
more damage.
I think it does. I think it does.
And the charge shot's the same.
No, it freezes things.
Yeah, sure. I guess.
But, well,
And then when you collect the special missile upgrade powers for them all, they all get another power up. Super missile powers.
That you like, but you only use the super missiles though. You don't use the electric flamethrower thing. Like that thing's garbage. It just drains your missiles and doesn't like,
I mean, they have their uses somewhere. I mean, if you
Yeah, you'll find out.
opening doors and hitting pirates in different flavors.
right.
And the final
mean,
boss.
it's like, oh, it freezes them. Yeah, well, the wave beam shocks them. It's like the same thing. They stand still. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like for
Uh,
the ice beam, I consider them pretty much dead once they're frozen. So I mean,
yeah,
if you
missile, and they're done.
yeah, so like if you shoot them once and they're frozen, they're basically dead. So
no, leave them there for a second. They all thaw.
yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that, but that doesn't end there with like just the beams with the space pirates. They actually try to if you I don't know if you guys ran into this scan log, but they actually tried to mimic her morph ball. And it said in the description that like too many of their space pirates were getting mangled by trying to do it, that they called off the trying to copy it.
That's kind of how I figured that would go. I mean, the morph ball is magic. Say what you want about all of other Samus's weapons and Chozo lore and whatever, and how maybe it's sci-fi-y. The morph ball is just straight up some magic BS.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. I think of it like
Samus is not that small.
they come out
Just-
of the morph ball and they're just like a pile of like
Well,
gooey mess.
To be fair with the
I'm
power
laughing
or
at
with
the
the morph
screams
ball.
going into it.
Raw space pirates.
Ah! What do you think the selection process was like? You first.
The stupid ones first.
His IQ's the lowest. He's getting at the morph
Who,
ball.
me?
Oh boy.
I gotta tell my wife. He calls her up. I've been selected for a secret special mission where, and then she just goes, "You're a test subject." No,
They probably tried it with children afterwards, you think?
I have
They're
no
smaller.
idea. I mean, it
they
could
take
possibly.
less space.
Yeah.
Well,
I always
space
get-
pirates
it
don't have a
always
very
confuses-
high regard of life.
Yeah, well, so when you think space pirates, right? Like what comes to mind for me is like Han Solo. Right? So to
that's
call all
just
these
their
all
race.
these
They're from a planet.
creatures like they're all different creatures and they all kind of grouped like Kraid is not the same as the Ridley or
No,
the
but
other
he's from
ones,
the
right?
same. They're all from the same planet.
but like what makes them pirates? Are they like sailing around marooning ships for booty? Like what
I
is
think
the
they're just like
Yes.
robbing
No,
like
they-
the planet's resources, pretty much.
but
Yeah,
that
they're
would-
like space Vikings. They come in, they destroy, they steal. That's what they do.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just kind of
So-
like with Talon 4 and the Phazon, you know.
That's how Samus's parents died in a space pirate attack.
yeah,
yeah.
but like pirates steal for money to go buy things with the money they stole. Are these people going to like bars and stuff after they're done pirating? Like what is it?
They might.
There's just a disconnect for me in what these
There
things
might.
are and
I mean,
pirates.
I
You
guess
know?
like if you read more of the lore, they actually use Metroids as pets. They tried to use some of them as pets.
We're just trying to afford food for our Metroid guys. We're just gonna go. But they seem
Well-
more than capable of just taking whatever they want by force. I don't know. It's really
Metroids
interesting.
can be domesticated. Look at the baby.
Easily domesticated. She didn't do anything to get that love.
No.
The baby.
But
So, what was you guys' least favorite enemy overall?
Whoever invented the Chozo ghost needs a drop.
I already mentioned mine. The stupid split Metroid. That thing can die in hell.
So the Chozo Ghost, do you have the X-ray visor yet, Dom?
Yes.
Yeah, you just use that. You can see him the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep. But the,
Wait,
but the
wait,
split
wait.
Metroid.
I'm talking about the energy-based Chozo ghost
Yes.
that appear in.
Yeah,
Oh, really? You
yeah,
can
if
see
you,
them all?
if you use the
Okay.
X-ray visor, they're 100% of the time.
I'm sitting there playing whack-a-mole, swearing at like 5:30 in the morning, trying to hit these things. And there's like 6 of them in the same room, and I'm like, "What is
They
this?"
take like 4 charge shots each.
Yeah, and you can't like leave the room in some instances before you kill them all. And I'm like, God, I don't want to go through that room again.
Yeah.
Like,
Mine's probably the split Metroids as well. I am upset for you when you reach them, Don. But now you know that the power bombs are good.
Yeah. Use them sparingly because, once you come across them, they're so annoying because it's like, so basically it's like a clear looking Metroid and then like when you do enough damage to it, it splits, and then they turn into both of them turn into a different color. One could be purple and one can be orange. So I mean,
Oh,
obviously,
you got to hit them with the different beams.
yeah. But
And they have a fair amount of HP, and they're faster than regular Metroids, and they almost always catch me when they dive
Right.
in. I just like can't get out of the way.
and the whole ice beam missile thing doesn't work on them, so that's why they're super annoying.
Yep. So have fun.
Just a good excuse
And-
for you to use the different, not different weapons.
They infinitely spawn too in the area that you're in. You can't kill them all. They just keep spawning.
Just run. Don't fight them. Run.
You have to do some platforming, and they like to knock you off the platforms. I'm telling you, just wait till you get there.
Just let that thing ride your face and run.
I actually like the morph ball in this game, how it like swaps you into like 3D.
I spend
Dude.
64% of my time in the morph ball.
You're faster.
Yeah, for one, yeah.
Well, it's just like the game looks like so good. Like
It does.
You don't
It does.
realize it until like you go into morph ball mode, and you're just like, wow. Like even the morph ball itself looks good, especially when you get the spider ball upgrade. Like the morph ball looks sick.
You know what's really funny? In the GameCube version, when you see Samus's face, she blinks one eye at a time.
She looks pretty derpy in the GameCube version.
But that is a cool effect though, like that they added. You know, it's like a nice touch.
Blinking one eye at a time.
Well, no, not that, but like obviously, like when you do an explosion, like up close, and then you see her face blinking once with one eye.
Yeah, so like the visor is really cool. They really did a good job. Like when you're in cold areas, you get like frost on your visor, or hot areas, it looks like you're fogging
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Or
and, like,
rain, yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Or
That
like
was a nice addition.
yeah, or like the you can see bits of her like helmet too on the HUD, which I don't know, it kind of gives it like an immersive feel, like you are Samus.
I also really like the harken back to the first Metroid game with that first suit, the pre-Varia suit. It looks a lot like she did in the first Metroid game.
Yeah.
I thought was pretty neat as well. Nice touch. I think it's the only other time we see a suit like that.
There's 4 suits in this game.
Yep, 4 suits. That's pretty unusual.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, it kind of threw me through a loop when I got the Phazon suit. And I was like, whoa.
And it's black, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and it has like this cool like.
It was black because it was the early 2000s, and the Daredevil movie had come out. We're very edgy now. We couldn't make it leather because it didn't make sense, but if we could have, we would have.
Your grappling hook turns into a whip.
She just has a big leather duster over the Metroid suit with like the shoulder pauldrons sticking out of it, and it's just billowing behind her.
Oh man!
Sunglasses on the visor.
Yeah,
just like she's the chosen one.
The chosen one.
Yeah, I think that they did a really good job in this game, moving, making upgrades like plentiful and bringing like a 3D feel to the Metroid like formula, and it felt pretty close.
Yeah,
it's remarkable how much Metroid DNA is in this.
Right.
I think the only parts where it falls short for me is like I really don't care about the other weapons because in this game to me they're just not materially different enough.
Yeah,
but
I love the plasma.
That plasma beam is so good.
Yeah. It is. You just don't touch the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fair enough, right? I mean, it's so
they
strong.
Force you to.
Yeah,
I use the ice on Metroids and jetpacks.
I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think a single charge shot from the plasma can just one tap the Metroids.
I don't know. I just used ice.
Take that, you little jerks. Because Steve didn't read the pirate lore when they said the Metroids were resistant to ice, so I wasn't even going to try that garbage when I saw them.
What? No, all the regular Metroids are weak to ice, just not the split ones, and they're not extremely weak to. They're only weak to the element that they split into. So no, all the Metroids are weak to ice.
Yeah.
I like that save points heal you in this game. I like that because
yeah, that's different.
I was coming off of Super Metroid, and there were times where I saved at a questionable time when I had like 23 health left. And I'm like, oh man, saving might not be a good idea right now.
But if I die, I'm gonna lose like a half hour of progress.
Yeah, you really kind of had to weigh that option of like, oh, if I save right now, I might be totally screwed.
No, usually right outside of save room, there's an enemy in Super Metroid. You could just farm him.
Yeah, there were only a couple of occasions. Yeah,
And I mean, like, one of my biggest pet peeves with this game, unfortunately, is the amount of backtracking. The world's beautiful,
Oh.
and I love seeing it, but it's too much.
And
Yeah,
it's straight backtracking. It's not backtracking like Super Metroid was, where they're taking you back through a portion of a place you had already been to get to a new area, right? It's
Yeah.
like straight up. You got to retrace your
Right.
steps, to
But-
get to things again.
I do want to say, even though I don't like the backtracking, they do a good job of trying to get you to backtrack at a time in which you have new upgrades to explore new parts of those
Yeah.
areas.
right.
But like late in the game, when you're going for those Chozo artifacts, it's real annoying.
Yeah, it's
And
just straight up backtracking.
Some of the things change too, like the enemies in the rooms change. Like it's not the same
Yeah,
enemies
yeah.
every time, which is also kind of nice. It shows me that they were aware that there were going to be some backtracking, and that they tried to mitigate it at least a little bit.
Yeah,
What I really wish is that like the Talon overworld was just a little bit smaller and could get you to every area.
or just like
But it can't get you to Fendrana Drifts.
yeah, or like if the
only
world was more
the caverns.
interconnected more, I feel like would help too.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as connected as some of the other games that I've played.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve with the game. But
I feel like
I mean,
my biggest pet peeve, I would think, like backtracking's a big one too. But I think the scanning, while it's a good feature, I feel like scanning could have been like toned down a bit and maybe added more information with less scans.
Oh, I guess I'm in the minority then. I really didn't mind the scanning at all. Didn't
Like
bother me.
it's excellent if you want to
whatsoever.
learn like the lore and all that, but like especially like when you're in like the space like pirate colony area, like you got like monitors for days, and I'm like,
You're like, looky here, looky here.
yeah, it's like
looky here." Does nobody
it's like I
lock
gotta
their
pull up a
computer?
chair. I gotta pull up a chair and start reading, boys. Like,
Somebody doesn't practice a clean desk policy. Nobody locks their computer around here. Look at all this sensitive data.
Samus walks up to a chair and starts pulling it. It's like screeching on it. Just pulls the chair over to sit down.
it's like, all right, what do we got over here?
Yeah, the space pirates really have to institute a screensaver timer policy.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really bad.
Well,
I just think
I
like
mean-
some scans could have like definitely gone without. Like for example, like scanning like the elevator to activate it. Like I feel like that's just unneeded scanning. Like
True. I didn't think that was totally necessary.
yeah, like some of it's just like okay, like I understand it's a new mechanic and you want to use the heck out of it, but like come on, like it's use it for stuff that
It's
actually matters.
Kind of new. You get a scanner in Super Metroid, right? It's not all that.
That is
No,
true.
that's
all that new.
Well, wait, is it a
Isn't that
scanner?
the X-ray?
It's an X-ray.
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
X-ray
it's a
visor.
scanner. It's the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you take,
Speaking of like the space colony, though, I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't know if you guys knew this. I mean, probably this went right over my head. But that like sunken area where like you go in that's underwater, I didn't know that was a space colony that was up in space.
Somebody didn't pay attention during the opening cutscene, huh?
I guess not, but like I didn't realize that was the same place. And I read everything. I don't know. Maybe I missed that scan or like I missed that beginning part. I don't know what I missed, but like I didn't figure it out until after I read about it.
Dan, there are only two things that happen during that opening cutscene. You lose your power-ups, and the space frigate crashes. It's the only thing you have to pay attention to.
I knew it crashed, but I don't know. I didn't put two and two together.
I just thought it just got obliterated.
I just thought it was some
like
random spaceship that crash landed there eons ago or something.
I didn't think this place looked that way because of the phase-on. I mean, it just got hit by a giant space frigate. I figured that's what happened.
Yeah, but I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense now.
Yeah, no, I knew it was the frigate. I had something that I wanted to say about, but now I can't remember what it was.
Were you
We
guys
got
able to do any
sidetracked.
funny cheese?
What do you mean? When you say cheese, what do you mean?
So, in Super Metroid, you can cheese a lot of things by bomb jumping, right? They kind of took that out of this game, I think, on purpose because they knew.
Yeah.
But like, there's different angles and stuff you can jump at. There's like, you're not supposed to walk across lava, but you can for a long time and kind of get
Yeah.
the things.
Wait, how do you do that?
I feel like
You just walk
you
on it.
just
You just
walk
take the
through
damage.
it. You just take damage.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Did you not
Yeah,
accidentally step in lava this whole 2 weeks?
No, no,
So
no.
you're a god.
I thought you meant like you stepped in lava to get to an area you weren't supposed to or something.
Well, I feel like I may have sometimes, but maybe.
Well, so the Magmore Caverns is like a hallway. Like it's one long hallway. So like when you're going through it from one side to the other, especially after you get the Phazon suit, like I almost don't even platform. I just like walk in the lava and just keep
Yeah.
going. Because the Phazon suit gives you 50% damage reduction.
Yeah,
So-
Phazon suit's nuts. Like especially when you're getting like the Chozo artifacts, like nothing damages you.
I'm gonna say
Get away from me.
even
Get away from
though
me. Get away.
even though the Phazon suit is like insane, and I've beaten this game before, I still died to the final boss twice. And I was only missing one energy tank.
Which one? Like the
That thing.
first phase or second phase?
The first time I died on the first phase, and the second time I died on the second phase.
You're standing still trying to aim like an idiot. So that's the GameCube's fault, not yours.
I felt like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I was playing on a GameCube on an HD TV, and there might be input lag on that. But I felt like I wasn't fast enough to dodge some of the attacks.
You have to do that double tapping thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not for this boss.
You become so tanky so fast.
Yeah,
this,
for most of the stuff.
Like you're just like, yeah, I don't care. Go ahead, hit me.
Yeah.
But that's one of
Play
the
this
great
game.
things about the game, because that's like what highly incentivizes the exploration aspect. If you're not exploring, then you're not gonna feel super tanky. You're gonna be bare minimum.
I felt so good every time I got one of those E-tanks. I was like, yes, look at me. I'm so smart.
Doom, 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 doom.
I have to say, in her game, Samus is a chunky character. I don't know of any character that can take abuse the same way that Samus can in their respective games.
Yeah,
Sonic?
for sure.
Like I'm
just keeps
dead
getting the ring.
serious. Yeah, sure. Sonic maybe if you keep ring cycling, but like really, yeah, you just go hit for hit with like bosses and you win, and that's kind of a facet of the Metroid series. I feel like, and I think Smash Brothers doesn't do her justice in how much they make her away or make her hard to kill, because she just does not go down in her respective.
You know what one's like that?
She's the apex predator in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, it's like not even close. Everyone else is trying to like, it's trying to like kill you with plastic knives.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it kind of reminds me of like Super Metroid when you're fighting Mother Brain, and she's using like that like laser beam that like slams you up against the wall, and then like I don't know, like I think that's like the only time where she's like struggling to get back up.
I mean, if you have enough health, she has to do it to you like 3 times.
Yeah, but it's so violent looking. Like I feel like you'd get
It
obliterated.
really is jarring. Yeah,
You get obliterated because it's like first you get slammed up against the wall, and then it's like carrying you up the wall as it's going off. Like you're like, stop, it's enough.
But yeah, like I don't walk around in Metroid Prime feeling threatened much at all ever. Like you just have so much health. You're just like, yeah, whatever. Get out.
Yeah.
She goth. Like
Yeah, I like once you get like the Phazon suit, it's pretty much just like a victory lap around the whole world map, getting the Chozo relics or artifacts.
Especially because you're saving very often, because you don't want to like have something stupid happen, and you want to like, and it heals you, so it's just
Yeah.
you just destroy.
You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about the bosses for a second, particularly Thardus, the rock boss. Do you guys like playing video games visually impaired?
Are you talking about
That's like
the thermal visor?
Yeah, the stupid rock boss.
Yeah.
You're like blind while you're fighting him without the thermal visor. Then he goes into a second mode where you're blind where you're fighting him with the thermal visor. You can like barely see anything. I only beat that fight because he literally can't kill me, which our tankiness conversation is what made me think of it. I'm just sitting there letting him wail on me until I eventually kill him. That like is basically how that whole fight went. That fight is a disaster. The rest of this game is great. That fight is like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I feel
Like-
like the visors in general could have been like done better.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the visors that much.
Like
They're
It would have been
cool.
fine if the visor was a gimmick in the fight, but you go from being blind to being blind again. Like, it's
yeah, I
it's
get
an
what you're
awful,
saying.
awful fight.
But like at the same time, it's like the visors themselves. It's like I don't like staying in them because it's just like you can't really see what's going on.
I'm worried I'm missing something too.
Yeah, and so it's like you only put it on when you absolutely have to. And I feel like you should be able to put it on, and maybe it impairs your vision maybe slightly, but it shouldn't just like completely distort everything.
I actually killed a lot of the invisible space pirates without the thermal visor.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's because her gun takes up so much space on the screen.
I mean, and they also want to be in your face, bringing a knife to a gunfight. They could just be invisible and shooting at you, but they're not. So
They're not smart.
get point blanked.
Yeah, I just I remembered what I was gonna say before. The only thing that I remember getting like stuck on for a little while was in Phendrana Drifts. The first thing that you have to do is missile that gate. I didn't know what I had. Like, there's a gate that it looks like you could fit a morph ball into.
Oh yeah, like it's
And-
right in the beginning. I know what you're talking about. It's like in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first
I
thing
must
you
have
do in
just
there.
done it because I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I didn't know where I was supposed to go, and I'm like exploring, trying to make jumps that I can't make, and like looking around, and I couldn't remember the gate from before, but
You
yeah,
kinda have to, like-
I was probably
You kind of have to learn like the terminology too of like what
you
certain
scan it.
when you
Yeah. When you scan it, it tells you like,
It's like it's cordite
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like,
you
what does that
yeah
mean?
exactly.
Cordite means split, and then there's like Bengay or something, whatever the B one
Yeah,
Ben something
benzene,
easy.
Yeah.
it's something like that. But
Benzinium,
like you
yeah.
have to
Yeah. is. Bengay.
you have to
You're
correlate
supposed to
that.
super bomb it.
Yeah, you have to correlate those with the certain metals and stones.
Yeah, so it's like the first time you really have to do that, and I'm like, what does that mean?
No, there are like statues and stuff you can blow up.
But you're not
before
forced
that.
to. This you have to do to progress.
There's one with the Chozo shaman statues that you have to do. They're all made of cordite.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. But I don't think you have that. You can't hit those with bombs because they're up higher.
Yeah.
I think I
So-
just 360 no scoped it because I knew what it was as soon as I saw it.
Well, you're sitting there trying to like blow it up with a morph ball because only the
Nope.
morph ball can fit, and it's
I was like,
just
look at
not
that
working.
gate snipe.
He scans it and he like sees like the type of metal it is, and Don's face was like,
Oh no, I didn't even snipe it. I didn't even scan it. I knew. I was like, snipe. The part that I got stuck on was getting the ice missile. I did not connect the fact that if you shot the the three different color holes above the Chozo statue in that room.
"Yep,
I didn't connect the fact that after you shot the hole, you're supposed to get in there with a morph ball.
right, yeah."
Like I just shot it, nothing happened, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to have the other color beams in order for this to work.
Yeah,
And so
I mean,
I ran around for 2.5 hours
yeah.
trying to
Oh, that
find
sucks.
how to get through there. I ended up having to use a guide. But I guess that's my fault. It really does look like all the other morph ball recesses. That was just my
Yeah,
brain not connecting that, getting distracted.
yeah. Speaking of
It
those,
is one of the magical parts of the game, but it's sometimes things can go over your head though.
right? Like speaking of that exact area, Don, the ice one that you have to like use is connected to the one of the E tanks, and there was the last E tank I didn't have,
I know.
and I'm like, I don't know where this last E tank is, and for some reason I thought I might have already got that one because I had to look up a guide because I wasn't sure which one I was missing, and then I saw that one and I'm like, scratching my head. I'm like, I don't know if I've got. I would think, I imagine I would have got that one, but lo and behold, I didn't.
Really, really
Yeah, I didn't get
interesting.
all. I
Yeah.
was missing one E-Tank.
See, because that space to me is memorable, so I know, like, as soon as I get that weapon with my 20 minutes jerk around time waiting for my hint, that's like where I'm headed. I'm like beelining for there. So I got
Yeah,
to figure out what to do with my time after I do an objective. So
yeah. So I feel like a thing that the Metroid Prime games could have benefited from is like kind of like the ones later and kind of the ones before it is like where it shows like items on the map that you've gotten. This game doesn't show you that, so it's very hard to like know like if you've got something the first time around because there's just so
I
many
was
things.
shocked because we are really late in the style of like in the a pun, really really late in the game for this style of game to not be showing you like rooms where there's a
Or yeah,
secret or
well,
something. Especially if you scanned it already, like they let you scan the missile power ups and the E tanks if you can see them, right?
yeah,
Um, if you scan them, I feel like they should be marked on your map. You found it, it's just you can't get it, and it just
right,
doesn't. Yeah, I'm really really shocked
yeah.
that two versions of this game later, there's no quality of life update for that.
Exactly, because like Fusion, it came out like the same exact time, and it has that mechanic. So it's like I don't know if it's like a memory issue. I don't know what it was, but it's like they had the technology to do it because they did it in the game that released the same day. So
It
Do the
must
do
be
the
a
little
design
dots go away
choice.
in Fusion?
what's that?
Does it mark the secrets
Yeah.
in
So
Fusion?
basically,
Okay.
it upgraded from Super Metroid, so it shows as like a circle, and then when you grab the upgrade, it just turns into a dot. So like it basically says, okay, you got this upgrade. Yeah, it doesn't show any items on the map or like you obtaining it. So it's like especially with all like the missile upgrades and stuff, you can't take like a mental note of like every single one that you've gotten. That's just ridiculous.
No, there's 255 missiles, which means there's like, what's that, like
I think they said
45?
there's 40. There's like 41. I
Yeah.
think,
So it's like
or maybe it's 49.
if you're trying to
49 missiles.
100% the game and it's like if you haven't like looked at a guide at all and you try and go back and look, you're probably going to get lost cuz you're not going to remember if you got that or not.
You're gonna have to just look through every single one of them and waste a bunch of time,
Yeah.
and
So I mean,
I'm not interested.
right.
Now, are there other costumes and stuff you can buy in some of these versions to replay the game with?
Well, so the GameCube version, I don't think this is in the Wii or remaster. Since Fusion came out at the same time, there was actually like a link up that you could go with the GBA, and you could actually use the Fusion suit in the GameCube version.
So, like, mine is telling me the Metroid Prime trilogy that there are things available to purchase, like cosmetics.
Oh, really? Maybe it is in the
Like,
Wii one. I'm not sure.
and like I don't know what I'm purchasing them with because to my knowledge I'm not collecting any kind of currency. Um,
I'm not
but
sure.
yeah, no, I didn't bother looking because I was really just trying to get through this game.
Right.
But I was curious if there were any kind of other suits or anything on the remaster for the Switch.
Yeah. So I can't.
Um,
So as far as the trilogy goes, I can't say for 2 and 3, but for 1, you can use the Fusion suit. So that's probably if any cosmetics are in the first game, it's probably the Fusion suit.
oh, neat.
I don't know. I I really really like this game. There are things that irk me about it, but overall it's easy to look past because
Yeah.
the environment's so good. The music is at this point in time better than it's ever been. Like they took a lot of
Yeah.
older themes and they remixed them and they actually made it like music and not just ambience.
So, have you guys played Ratchet and Clank series?
Very
I
little.
haven't.
Has really boss music, kind of like in this same style of kind of like that early electronica type of like ambient beats, and that's really what this reminded me of. I'm a big fan of the Ratchet and Clank series. Yeah, and it really really bops. I really like it.
It slaps.
All right.
But I think like I'm sure that the remaster, other than I didn't even know they had that burst shot problem. But like I don't know. I feel like they could have done more, but at the same time, like they're probably afraid of getting rid of some of that magic by changing up too much stuff.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe could just be a soulless cash grab, somewhat soulless cash grab. I
Well,
mean,
it
you know, we
looks
saw the
really good.
Or
we saw the Mario RPG remake that looks really nice, but as far as like expanding the gameplay, they didn't really do too much.
I really hope they do the other two remastered, and then I want them to do the remasters first, and then finally give us 4. I think that would be a good
So
transition.
yeah, so actually, this is probably a good way to wrap this up. Where do we think Metroid Prime 4 is going to land on the timeline?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting question because are they gonna try and fit it
On
with
the
the other primes
timeline?
or at the end or because her whole suit's like completely different, near the end of the timeline because it's the fusion suit timeline. At
Because Metroid Prime is called Metroid Prime because there's an enemy called the Metroid Prime, right? And my understanding is you kill it in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, like Dead, right? And that kind of like wraps it up. So what's the plot of 4 going to be? Is it just going to be called Metroid Prime in Spirit?
Metroid Prime
Because
again.
it's yeah. but you know, is it just going to be Metroid Prime in Spirit because it's going to be first person? It's going to be an entirely different storyline, or do we think it's going to slot
I
somewhere
don't
in
know.
here?
I would actually be
Early
curious
days.
if they actually went after like Dread or something, and went that route. But honestly, like the one thing I care about is a good game. As long as like you have everything that like the first game had but better, I'll be happy. I just don't want them to
Yeah.
make it and it just ends up sucking. That would like break my heart because I really love Metroid Prime.
Me too. It was a great introduction to the series in 3D. Like I don't know if Nintendo could have done an even better thing. I mean, it's highly critically acclaimed. Everybody that's played it, like not I can't say everybody, but a large number of players who've played it all just like adore the game, and there's a huge fan base, still to this
Yeah,
day.
and I like the
It should be. It deserves it.
yeah, and I like the two
Absolutely.
styles. You get your 2D ones. Keep doing those, obviously, for the people who love those, but also keep doing the primes for the people who love the prime games. The more story driven games for trying to learn the Metroid lore and whatnot.
Yeah, and Metroid lore is not all that crazy. It's not like Castlevania, but
It's
like
better.
yeah, I mean it's not as messy, not nearly as messy. But I'm hoping that Metroid Prime 4 is like after Dread because I want like them to move forward with it more because I love the series. I've beaten all 3 games. Um, and I just want it to keep going. And I feel like where Prime 1, 2, and 3 are in the whole like grand scheme of things kind of forces them within certain parameters
Yeah.
to keep the timeline the way it is. And I'd like them to be able to break free of that mold and kind of forge forward with the story
Well,
without having to worry too much about
right. And I feel like it gets
adjusting.
a little messy when you do that too, because then it's like for example with like Super Metroid with the timeline where it's
Well, so my understanding is the timeline that we've discussed is not canon necessarily. It's the
uh,
timeline that the
well,
fans
yeah,
have put
that I
together
mean
that
that is
makes the
true.
most sense.
That
So I don't think Nintendo has committed to the idea. And there were timelines before, I think, this more modern popular theory that the Metroid Prime series and the Metroid Fusion series were just like separate, you know,
spin-offs.
timelines, basically.
Yeah.
Like there was like a convergence point and it's like, separate branches, right? But if you were gonna
Ocarina of
put on your
Time.
tinfoil hat and create a timeline, the one we discussed here is the one that maybe makes the most sense. I don't know. I'm not really a big game theorist, but
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal, but
Metroid Prime 4, it's a kart racer.
God. I would
You can play as
I would
Ridley.
hate Nintendo forever if they did that.
what what was the game that just like all of a sudden was racing? Like they just I know there's
Oh
like Banjo
God,
Kazooie, but
Jack and
yeah, that's the
Daxter,
one.
Banjo Kazooie, Crash Bandicoot. pick your poison.
What is it? Because Mario
Yeah,
Kart
that's-
does so well that they want to do it to other
No,
games?
like they literally tanked the main series and just created racing games using the
Yeah,
same
but like,
IP.
why would they? Is because of like the success of Mario Kart? Like, I don't know.
Why does anything happen? Why does anything happen? I don't know. All
Uh,
right. It's gone on about this game for about an hour. You think we're about wrapped up, fellas?
I think so. Highly recommend
All
to
right.
anyone
Yeah.
who wants to play Metroid Prime. Give it a go. It's a great game.
Yeah, you can pick it up pretty handily these days. If you got a GameCube kicking around, it'll cost you around $50 to get yourself a copy with a case and a manual. Probably less than that if you just look for a loose disc. They are abundant, so you can find them.
Yep.
Second game is also on GameCube.
I-
If you want the trilogy for the Wii, which is the best version, it's the one you should get. It's like $75, and hey, it's like $25 for a Wii. So doesn't really cost all that much to get that
Or
set up.
if you want more modern controls and you want to play on your Switch, you can get the remastered version for $40.
Mm-hmm.
You could play that one anywhere. It's on the
Yep.
Switch.
Yep.
It's pretty nice. I wanted to say that the copy that I have still has its GameStop used sticker. I want you guys to guess how much the used price was when I bought it.
$17.50.
What about you, Dan?
I'm gonna say 25 even.
You're both way
Is
off.
it way more?
$3.99.
$3.99. Wow, what a steal!
Woo! Tuck that thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's close out. So before we leave today, I just wanted to say thank you to our listeners, especially those who like the videos and comment. It really helps us keep going. All the algorithm stuff aside, I just really like to see the video get likes. I really like to interact with people in the comments. Just kind of makes us feel good and propels us forward. And if you have any critiques, go ahead and absolutely leave them there too. So I wanted to end this episode by setting our very first subscriber goal. So we've got 30 subscribers on YouTube. I want to reach 50. So if you are listening at this point and you like us and you are having a good time, recommend us to someone in your life who also likes to talk about gaming and particularly retro games, and have them give us a fair shake. That'd be great. We can be found on YouTube, but if you don't like sitting in front of a screen for 2 hours watching us talk, you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found. So next episode, we're gonna do a Wonder Trade,
Oh boy,
which is a random encounter of sorts. I guess we could have named it Random Encounter too. And where we are going to take our entire Retro Dex list. I think we're up to what now? Around 600 games now, guys?
and growing. Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
Ish, yeah. And I know I add to it quite frequently, and we'll have more people adding to it with the user pool, with the listener pool. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a random game from that list to play for the next 2 weeks. Steve, hit that big red button.
Here
Oh, no.
we go.
I'm scared.
Selections, randomizing, range now. I like this
Oh
game.
boy.
Oh, good.
Let me.
I actually just literally beat this game like maybe 4 months ago, maybe 6 months
Interesting.
ago on the Retroid.
This is rigged.
Are you gonna play it
I
again?
don't know what to tell you.
You have to play it again.
Yeah, I can beat it in an afternoon, which is really
So it's a
good for
short
my work
game.
schedule right now. So this is a Game Boy game released in 1992, and it is a 2D platformer. Does anybody want to have some guesses?
Super Mario Land.
It's a good guess. What about you, Dan?
Is it one of the Mega Man games? Like, is it like Mega Man 2? Is it? I'm not sure what year that was.
That's also a good guess. Don, you're very close. This is Super Mario Land 2, Legend of the Six Golden Coins.
Oh, I started this and I didn't beat it. This is the perfect excuse.
It's
Go back and finish it.
very good. Have you played it,
I
Dan?
have not. So this will be exciting.
You're going to be in for a treat. It's good.
So, listeners,
Uh,
what that means to you is, we sit here and we spout off our own notions about these games that we play, but you should too. You should play this game for the next week and write us in during that time your thoughts about Super Mario Land 2, and we'll read them on the air next episode.
yeah, send in, like Don said, send in your commentary, or your critiques, or your fond memories,
Right. Well,
literally anything that you want to
yep.
say about the game that we're
Yep.
playing.
We'll read every single comment. No matter where it is.
We'll filter them first, and then we'll
Yeah,
read them.
obviously, within reason. But we should have a Discord rolling soon, so that'll be another avenue you guys can take to, ask us questions, talk about games, whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah. We're getting a page built up on the Facebook as well.
Yep, we are. We're gonna start posting on that, and not necessarily everything about us, but maybe some gaming news we come across, or retro game stuff. It's not necessarily all just self-promotion, obviously. So we're trying to build a community and try and get a bunch of friends to share our love of retro games, and we're excited to have anybody that obviously is respectful, that wants to talk about retro games. It's just one of our passions.
Absolutely.
All right, game over, fellas?
Game over.
Game over.
Die, monster. You don't belong in this world.